Everyone, let's welcome Kate Welch to Dragon Talk.
Yay!
Yay!
Kate Welch, you're my favorite.
You're my favorite, Shelly, and also Greg. How to choose? If you guys were both on an island and I had to choose which of you to drown, I wouldn't be able to do it. I'd drown myself.
That is appropriately dark.
And you wouldn't really have to choose because Greg and I are actually the same person.
Thank God.
That's the secret reveal.
Yeah, and I like that you went with drown and not save. So just really hammer that point home. That's why we love you.
Hello, my friends. It has been far too long.
Excited to have the opportunity to reconnect with you
I
because
know.
you've been crushing it.
Oh my God.
Up and down,
man.
all over town.
Thank you. Thank you. I could say the same about y'all. This has been a hell of a year, huh?
Yeah,
Hell of a year.
for everybody.
Yeah. I think I've been gone.
Average.
I've been gone from Wizards for almost a year.
Almost a year.
And
Yeah.
that is truly the hard part of last year.
It's true.
I mean, I think that's what we were all referencing when we're like, it's been a really tough year. Kate Welch doesn't sit 5 feet from me anymore.
How have
So-
you been?
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
Same. How's Dragon Talk been?
Well, we just had a big anniversary.
You did? How many years?
Well, we go by episodes, and it's been like 115 years, but it's been 300 episodes, and now this is like 302. What?
302, I think.
I'm honored to be your 302nd. Thank you for
Yes.
having me on.
Yes. Thank you for being
Well,
here.
there's the context for you having you on, other than just you being awesome, is you're a dungeon master for the stars, for many of the stars, at the comedians table for D&D Live 2021.
Oh.
You're going to play Dungeons and Dragons with so many amazing folks. I'll list to everyone I can off the top of my head. We got Jack Black, who's going to be in that game. Jason
True.
Mewes and Kevin Smith, Silent Bob, and the
other one.
The other one.
Jay.
Jay and Silent Bob. I know, that's why I got them messed up.
Yeah,
I
you
it
said
the wrong way.
Silent Bob first.
I know. Gosh, who else is on there? We got some secret folks.
Lauren Lapkus. And did you say Reggie Watts?
No, I forgot Reggie's on there.
And then there's a secret guest,
Which hasn't.
Guest.
Oh my gosh.
which we might reveal, but I'm not going to be the one to say it because it sounds like there's like some timing around it. If you want to say it, Gregory, then I will back you up 100%.
I will definitely say it now. It is going
Oh my God.
to be Tiffany Haddish, the final cast member for the Comedians Table for D&D Live 2021. Tiffany is fantastic. I heard she is a D&D player.
She is. Yeah, she said that she has played in high school, and she had needed no assistance from me whatsoever in creating a character. She's just like good to go, all business, ready to roll them dice. I am so pleased. It's a really good table.
So,
Right? I mean, that's a dream, having all of those funny people in one place, riffing off each other. That seems super fun.
Right. Yeah.
okay, it's a dream for us, the viewers. But I would like to know, is it a dream for you, the Dungeon Master? Like when you heard and you were invited to take part in this, were you like, oh, hell yeah, this is what I
I could
made
probably
of?
show you the text message where that was exactly the response.
It was. Yeah. I think, Greg, you were like, I need to call you because you're not going to believe what I have to tell you. And I'm pretty sure I was like losing my mind on that phone call, definitely also in the text messages. But Shelly, thank you. Such an insightful question. Such a wonderful question, because you would think at this point that it would be just pure excitement, but it is very nerve-wracking and very anxiety-inducing. I'm very excited, obviously. And we did the Comedians game last year. We did the Game of Thrones game last year. But kind of like part of the process for me as a dungeon master, it doesn't matter who the table is. It could be a bunch of famous people. It could just be like my best friends and my family. Makes no difference. The preparation for dungeon mastering and wanting everybody to have a good time is so anxiety-inducing every single time, regardless of the content. So I would say, like, on a scale from like 1 to shit my pants, I'm like an 8.5. but like that's also anxiety and excitement at the same time.
Yeah.
So I hope that they have fun. And I think the evidence suggests that they will, but I don't know. And I don't know if any of them, aside from Tiffany, I'm not 100% sure on everybody's D&D level of experience either. So we'll see. Might be an educational experience for a lot of us.
Well, that's why it's so great that you were that we brought you on board to do this, because I think you're really great at dungeon mastering for veterans who love the game and love the nuances of all the rules, but you're also really good at getting new people involved and having it be more of an improv comedian experience, which might be perfect for this table.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a mix. And honestly, I keep reassuring myself of this. I really love being a dungeon master for people who are not good at D&D or have never tried it or whatever. I love playing with kids, like being able to run tables for young kids who just like have heard of D&D or just want to like play pretend with a sword for a while. I find a lot of joy in that because I like to enable people's imagination and help them understand what Dungeons and Dragons can bring to their lives and how enriching it can be, and the kinds of friendships that you can make and the things that you can discover about yourself, and all of those things. So I hope that is the experience that this table has, and that also, like, the other big thing is this game is only 2 hours long. So how much I keep telling myself I'm gonna have to take, right? You just let these people, I just set them up and be like, there's a dragon, and then boom, let them go for 2 hours. I'm sure they don't even need me. But also, like, you want to make sure that everybody gets a little bit of spotlight and give them lots of opportunities to do their funny person comedian thing. So another challenge, this is a real one. Another challenge is I am historically a very silly dungeon master. And I think that is, let's say, one of my strengths. I like it. I like being a silly dungeon master because I think that when people get the sense that I'm silly, then they feel the freedom to be silly. And so that's kind of the game I like to run. However, I believe strongly that the best dungeon masters are the ones who can be serious and can be like a straight man in the sense of like the joke, the comedian setup. Like the straight man is the one who's providing a platform for the jokes to land, or spring from. And I really admire, I think Matt Mercer is a really good example of someone who's like this, like somebody who can be a very serious dungeon master and solemn, but also provide opportunities for his players to be funny. I am a silly dungeon master because I have no self-confidence, and jokes are my defense mechanism. So when I am nervous, which of course I always am, I am instantly going to default to jokes. So one of my challenges that I'm trying to prepare myself for is like, I want this comedian table, I want them to be the funny ones. And I just want to play like the straight man and like give them a blank canvas upon which to project their jokes. I don't know how to do that while also being terrified out of my mind. So there's a growth experience happening for all of us at the table for this game.
That is amazing.
Well, I hope that you just are always nervous, because I do think you're one of the funniest people I've ever met. And I love watching you as a dungeon master. I think last year at D&D Live 2020, when you were helming the Game of Thrones table, I was so nervous for you, like watching it, just like, okay, but you were just flawless. And like how you can actually do all of those things that you are just talking about needing to do, like making sure people are getting the spotlight and all, but there's big personalities. And this table coming up for D&D Live 2021, these are huge names. And like, obviously, like everybody like kind of likes to, they're just, not that they're going to take over from each other, but like they all want the spotlight. They're all funny in their own way. And they're all, and so I just, how do you like manage those big personalities? And I mean, it's probably the same at all tables. Like you have to make sure that everybody's getting their time to shine, but like Is there any are you intimidated to tell somebody to be like, back up, dude? It's Lauren's turn to talk.
I don't have a problem with that part. Because I think that when people are being like a table hog, one of the core rules, and then maybe I'm just saying this self-interestedly because I am a dungeon master, but I do think that one of the core rules is you got to respect your dungeon master. Your dungeon master is the reason you're there. Yes. They're the ones ready to show you a good time. They're there to enable the fun. They want to make sure everybody feels cool. Ideally, this is an ideal world. And that's the kind of dungeon master I want to be. So I hope that in shining the spotlight on other people at the table, people understand oh, she's going to give me my chance in the spotlight too. I just have to support and enable other people's spotlight, and then I'll get my shot at it. So hopefully that part doesn't scare me. It's really just, it's the pressure of wanting to show a bunch of professional entertainers a good time. With the Game of Thrones game, it was, and the Comedians game and the Game of Thrones game, both I have anxiety for a week leading up to it, and then for 4 days afterward, I'm just coming down from the high. It's a real thing. But last year, it was a similar thing. The Comedian game went great. Everybody had a good time. I think it was much more of here's a bunch of funny people all making jokes. And the Game of Thrones game was, here's a bunch of people who already know each other, who have that pre-established chemistry.
Yeah.
And so that ended up being, I think, kind of the secret to their game. But one of the most intimidating things, I felt with the Game of Thrones game, I was this is just a bunch of nerds that I'm role playing with. It flowed really naturally. But it feels a lot in this case, how with the Game of Thrones actors, I decided for some reason to just do European accents with a bunch of people who have European accents natively. And in my head, I'm why am I doing this? Why would I do a bad accent from the people, with the people who speak it natively? What am I doing?
Right, with the people from Belfast, with the people from Spain, and you're I'm going to do a Spaniard. Exactly. Why not?
Yeah, sure. Why don't I just do something that's probably a super offensive rendition of their native accent? But that's kind of how I feel about this entertainers table, this comedian table this year. Is these people do this for a living. They write and direct and act and do stand up and sing. What the hell am I gonna do? What am I gonna bring to this table?
You're a game designer for a living. God, you're a dungeon master for not necessarily a living, but for some discretionary income, maybe. Or a nice dinner for you and Tyler once in a while.
Funny little petty cash.
But still, this is your world. This is where you belong. They're stepping into your world. Do other than Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes know each other, obviously, but do you know if any of the other people have any established relationships?
I don't think so. I think that they all have a massive professional respect for each other, but I don't know if any of them have ever hung out or if they have established chemistry. I'm grateful that Kevin and Jay do. I've actually been able to, at this point, speak to all of them and help them create their characters and brief them on how the game's going to go. And every single one of them has been such a delight to speak with. They depending on the person, I interviewed them about what kind of character they wanted to play and then created their character, or got in touch with them and they were I kind of already know what I want to do. Or in some people's cases, like Tiffany, she was I already got my character all ready to go. I don't even need you. I was hell yeah, nice. It was, and a lot of them for Tiffany and for Lauren had already made her character as well. It was really just a matter of helping them figure out D&D Beyond, just walking them through oh, we're actually going to be at this level, so they know what they're doing. They're good to go. And
can you tell us about their characters? What did Lauren and Tiffany, who are they playing?
Let's see. Okay. I don't want to spoil too much, but I guess I can. So Tiffany is playing a sorcerer. And she is playing, I think this is a reference to an SNL sketch that she was in, but she's playing a character called Tiffnicity, the Last Black Unicorn.
That's the name of her book. The Last Black
Oh,
Unicorn.
nice. Excellent. So yeah, she's playing the Last Black Unicorn. And she also, I was like, do you want to have a unicorn familiar? And she was like, absolutely, I do.
All right.
So
well, you're already the best dungeon master ever. That's it. Hands down. Winner.
You always gotta ask. And then Lauren is playing an elf fighter, I want to say. And I cannot. Her name is funny. Pimple Poppy, I want to say, is the name.
Pimple Poppy.
Pimple Poppy is very good. Pimple Poppy, but Pimple Poppy is my next unique character.
She's a dermatologist.
A fantasy dermatologist.
Big on extractions.
Oh yes.
Exfoliations.
Oh my God.
I love Lauren Lapkus. She is one of my favorite improv people
so
on
funny.
the Comedy Bang Bang podcast and all the stuff that she's done in TV and movies. So I'm really excited to see that talent come to life as Pimple Poppy.
I'm excited. I'm excited about the thought of her as a fighter too. For some reason,
I know. She's really cool. I like her a lot. She's also, I think her character sheet, for some reason, her strength is like a -1, so that should go over pretty well.
Nice.
She is. She's also. I think she said that her only D&D experience. She has her own podcast, and they played Dungeons and Dragons for one episode of it, and I believe that's been her Dungeons and Dragons experience. So she's a relative newbie. Pretty exciting.
Okay.
Reggie is playing the same character he played for the comedian game last year, which is Bronwyn, the half-elf ranger, I believe. And this time he wanted a familiar, and he was like, I want like a teleporting cat. And I was like, absolutely. So what I'm going to do is I'm giving him a blink dog, the stat block of a blink dog, but I'm just making it a blink cat. Little dungeon master trick for you. Just change the word in the stat block and you got a different monster.
Reskinning is key.
And then I'm not going to reveal what Kevin and Jay are doing because I think it's a pretty funny idea that they've had. But I spoke to both of them and they're both really excited. Jason Mewes has played a lot of D&D. He has his own Twitch channel, I guess, and he streams pretty regularly. He plays D&D, and so yeah, he's pretty familiar with it. He's very, very excited and he's all about it.
Sweet.
And then Jack, last but not least, is actually, I saw a bunch of people online who were like, you better play a bard. No, Jack is playing a dwarf warlock. And the only thing he told, I was like, oh, hell yeah. Because he was like looking through the classes. He's like, tell me about warlocks. I was like, oh yeah, get in, strap in, buddy. And so we started talking about warlocks, and I was like, you get to like have a pact to some kind of like ancient creature or kind of whatever you want to pact to. And he immediately was like, I want to have a pact with a demon. I was like, yeah, sure. He's like, it's a blue demon. I was like, all right.
It's a blue demon?
He wanted to have he wants a dwarf. He wants to have a pact with a blue demon. And that's all I need to know. So yeah, that's our lineup. I didn't leave anybody out. Yeah.
I like that now, forever, you will be able to start sentences with, so this one time I was talking about warlocks with Jack Black. Blah, 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 blah.
I feel like
and
such
whatever.
a name dropper. I'm like, oh my God, you guys. Like when I was doing this planning meeting, I was visiting some friends who just had a baby. I was in their house in Buffalo. And so I'm like, hey guys, I gotta go for 3 hours because I have a series of celebrities that I have to get on the phone with. And I'm so such a douchebag. I was like, yep, I'm sorry, you guys. My call with Kevin Smith is in like 20 minutes. Do you mind if I just set up my laptop? You guys have Wi-Fi?
We just gotta talk about creating characters.
I just gotta talk about his Dungeons and Dragons character. But yeah, we kind of like had set it all up. I talked to Reggie and Jack on one day, and then I talked to everybody else on a different day. So I had like the big string of meetings. The guys who are the Lost Odyssey, a big string of meetings. The Lost Odyssey guys who have been helping me, as Rob and D'Glicio over at Lost Odyssey, have been so good, so profesh. They're just like, hey, they've been taking care of everything, and I have like a 75 email long thread with them at this point. But I bless up to those guys. They're crushing it. Yeah.
Love them. Love them. They've been so good at like just getting these type of folks literally to the table. And
Yeah.
it's great when it's for charity. And this game is also for charity as well, right?
Yes, our game is. I think every game at D&D Live is benefiting a different charity. Ours is Extra Life, which is one of my all-time favorites.
Yay.
Yeah. So we get to. I am very excited that like these powerhouses are gonna like bring their energy to bear on Extra Life. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting some money to Children's Miracle Hospitals, helping kids out. Can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that.
And speaking of charity, not to say like, hey, you're all those celebrities, let's push them to the side, but let's push them to the side. I want to talk about the C Team Pride game for Lambert House that you also did at the beginning of June. I'm wearing my Lambert House Pride shirt now.
It's beautiful. I really like that Pride shirt. It turned out nice.
Yeah.
So the Lambert House game was in conjunction with Penny Arcade, and I DM'd, let's see if I can remember, Tristan Falcone, Jeremy Crawford, AJ Lamarck, Omega Jones, and last but not least, Anthony Rapp. Is that my whole table? I think that was my whole table.
Yeah.
They were absolutely incredible. And I assume the VOD is up somewhere for viewing at this point, because we streamed it a few weeks ago.
Yep.
It was such a delight. The premise of it was that we were going through Walnut, who's played by Tristan Falcone, woke up and had forgotten her anniversary with her wife, and she was in a bit of trouble. And so we put her through her paces. Everybody who showed up as guests, they had never been on the C Team before, but Jeremy played his Acquisitions Inc. stand-in character that he DMs acting for, which is Vi, the little artificer gnome. She's incredible. She's one of my favorite characters. So we got him playing Vi. And then I'd never played with AJ, Anthony, or Omega, and they were incredible. They were just like really on the mark role-playing wise. It's such a fun game. It's a blast. If anybody out there has not listened to it or watched it, it's totally worth it. It was just a delight. Anthony Rapp is a total treasure. And did a really good job. I put him on the spot a couple of times to like read things and do some performances, because he was, I believe, playing a bard. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it was a good time. It was a really good game.
I love that, that type of thing can bring so many people together to support, the Lambert House, which is, a charity here in the Seattle area that helps out LGBTQ youth and questioning youth, and just making sure that they have a place to go to get support. It's one of those fun kind of just blanket helping organizations out there that is perfect to support during this month, but all months, especially this year, because I think they have some lease issues going on, and they want to try to raise as much money as they can in order to keep the actual Lambert House going. And so we're going to be doing, you can purchase these pride shirts. There's many different kinds, for different ways in which you identify in order to show your pride for Dungeons and Dragons, as well as Magic the Gathering. There's hoodies, there's all types of accessories and apparels that you can purchase there, and all of the proceeds go to support Lambert House. I'm just excited that we had an all, LGBTQ identifying cast together playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, it was really wonderful. And yeah, I believe the game, just like in the course of those 2 hours, we raised like $3,500 or something close to 4K. So thank you to everybody who tuned in live, but let's keep those donations rolling.
Right.
Rip those wallets open, throw those credit cards at the screen. Let's keep donating to Lambert House, because it's such a good charity.
And get some good T-shirts in the process.
You get some good T-shirts. Yeah, exactly.
Mine are in the mail.
I did expedited shipping for mine, Shelley. So
Wow.
Aren't you fancy? I ordered one of the hoodies, the zip front hoodies.
Yeah.
So, and it was like 175 degrees, so I didn't need to rush mine. Like, it can get here when it gets here. Just take my money.
It can get here in October. It'll be fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
We're good.
I was able to wear it in the beginning of June when it was January here in the Seattle area.
Yeah.
But,
hey, y'all, how'd you hold up the last 2 days in our record heat wave here in Seattle?
We were in Avernus, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was wild. Did you just like, did anybody else just go outside and just stand in it? And
I
be
did.
like, this is the mouth of hell? Yeah.
Yes. I just had to see it. I was outside for like a minute and a half.
Me too.
And then I was like, I'm burning. Like I really did feel like my skin was burning straight off the bone. Like I gotta go inside. And Quinn was like, can I come out? Can I come out? Like what part of what I just said makes you want to come out here too? But yeah, get on out here.
Yeah.
Feel
Sure.
it.
Get that
Feel
white
the
pasty
burn.
Irish skin out here.
Yeah. What about you, Greg? How about you and the fam?
I mean, luckily we were in the basement, so
Nice.
we had come from camping. We were at a mountain lake all last week,
Oh.
which would have been great during
Yeah.
that awful time. But we left to get here right when it was the worst of it, and we just took all of our camping equipment and basically went down into the basement as a family and just have been hanging out down here and making the best of it. But it's so weird how. That was 3 days. It got the worst on Monday, where it was 106, I think, here in Seattle. Portland got
I think it was 108.
116.
We had 116 on Monday. Yeah. We
Oosh.
were outside with my like probe thermometer that I used to like test bread to make sure it's done. Tyler took it outside and just held it in the air. And it was like 116.9 or something crazy.
Wow.
What the?
It doesn't
I
seem
hope
right.
Frodo was okay. I mean, that's.
Frodo was
truly-
okay. I think he burned his little feet. I think he had little blisters on his paws. Because he was like he came outside and he started limping on the hot patio, and I was like, oh, and I scoop him up and I took him there.
Oh, baby. Yeah.
It's too hot for babies.
No walk for Puppy that day.
No walk.
He was like, I don't understand, humans. Why are the
Yeah.
blinds down and the doors are all shut?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Well, hey, how about that? How about that hot planet of ours?
How about that
Yeah.
hot planet of ours?
Yippee-ki-yay.
It's fine. Nothing to see here. Speaking of hot planets, like not at all. This is not a segue at all, but I just liked it.
Bring it on.
I'm going back to D&D Live 2021. So the story, the adventure that you'll be running, like what is it something that you have crafted from your own brain pan,
Yeah.
or is it what's
It
going
is.
on? What can you tell
Complete-
us? I know you can't spoil.
No, I don't want to spoil it. It's a completely original adventure. God help us. And there's usually my signature move is to make like the end some grand pun or dad joke, but I have not done that this time because I want these people to want to speak to me again after this. So, but I have it's 2 hours, big personalities. I had to craft essentially like beats for them to hit specifically so that Ben from Sirenscapes can score it for us live. So I'm really excited about that. Because that's been like, at least the last couple D&D lives, the live Sirenscape scoring has been like the 7th player at the table. It's been so good. It's so much fun. He's always on the mark with good sound effects. So I'm super looking forward to Sirenscapes being there again this year. So, but they wanted to like prep some stuff ahead of time. So usually just to be completely honest about this, because I want let's normalize being a really lazy dungeon master. Usually my preference is to be anxious about it for weeks and then figure it out 24 hours or less before actually going live. That's my preference. I find that is the creative process for me. I find that procrastination is a part of my method. But in this case, they were like, no, we got to have Sirenscapes come up with sounds. And I was like, damn it. So yes, I have already come up with a story. I have places in mind. I've got NPCs. I got the odd accent or two. I got cool characters. I got plot roughly. And I can't wait for it all to come crashing down around me when inevitably players enter the picture. Because this is why I don't like to plan. There's a book, a really lovely book called The Lazy Dungeon Master and Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master. You guys know. Have you ever had Sly Flourish on the show?
I don't think we have.
Yeah. I've on a How to Be a Dungeon Master segment.
Well, you have. You've had. Okay. So yeah, those books are incredible. They're more for like people who have some experience. You definitely don't want to start out with those books. But one of the things that I took away from that reading that I've only read the first one, but the way that I have justified it for myself is that being a lazy dungeon master and doing like a minimum amount of prep gives you the most flexibility when it comes to improvising at the table. So it's actually something that I vastly prefer. Like, I think a dungeon master has everything planned out too much. It's going to feel too much like it's on rails and that you're forcing people into your story. So I prefer to prep like very, very low. In fact, one of the things that I was kind of fantasizing about as I was thinking about this, I'm like, oh my God, I have to prep, but I don't like to prep. And I want it to feel like a real Dungeons and Dragons game, but also it's only 2 hours, and also it's a one shot, and like you have to have a satisfying beginning and ending in a one shot. And it's in a lot of ways, doing a dungeon master run like this is not typical. Like it's not normal Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
And that's like because it's one shot, and because it's live, and because it's going to have so many viewers, and because a lot of those viewers don't know what Dungeons and Dragons is. There's a lot of strange elements, and we can unpack that in a second if you'd like. But yeah, like one of the things that I think people should do more often. Oh, the exercise that I would really like to do someday is I want to have a table full of players who know what they're getting into, and that is that their dungeon master, Kate Welch, has prepped nothing. And that serious, like I just want to come to a table and be like, guys, I haven't prepped anything. Let's go. And that we just run from there. Like they have their characters, I just start making shit up. Their characters express interest in things. And then we improvise the whole thing. And I think maybe there are tables that run like this. Like there are probably people listening to this and being like, yeah, that's how you play Dungeons and Dragons. You just improvise the whole thing with your friends, including the dungeon master. But much to my chagrin, I have only ever been in one campaign that wasn't streamed. And it was a long, long, long time ago. And I was not the dungeon master. So like every game of Dungeons and Dragons that I've played in campaign setting in 5th edition has been on the C team. And that is, a place where you have fans and they want closure and they want satisfying characters. And when you're playing at home, I don't think you have to care about that so much,
Right.
Like as a dungeon master playing with no audience, I would be reacting so much more to the things that my players were excited about. And I like putting a lot more emphasis on those things. And like, if we introduced a cool NPC and never saw them again, and it's like, there's no like Chekhov's gun in a real game of Dungeons and Dragons. You can have a plot thread and then drop it, and nobody's going to be like, what happened? If a player's like, what happened to that plot thread? Then I'm like, oh, of course, here I can pick up that plot thread for you, and we can carry it forward. But that can be really frustrating and dissatisfying for people when they're watching a stream game. So you have to be so much more conscious of it being a contiguous plot, and you can't be as lazy a dungeon master as perhaps you would like to be. And you cannot necessarily introduce things that are going potentially nowhere, because it doesn't make for a satisfying story. So all of those things have been like, in addition to just the normal stress of dungeon mastering and not knowing, what it's going to act like, having to hit a deadline, it's going to be 2 hours, not a second more or less, and then all the aforementioned things about needing it to have a satisfying story and plot and through line. It makes it feel like it's not the purest form of Dungeons and Dragons. It's not the home game version of Dungeons and Dragons. It's one of the things that when people talk about how great Matt Mercer is, how great Critical Role is, it's not that they're not playing D&D. They're doing a really good job. And Matt is obviously a master, and all the players are incredible. But on some level, they're still performing it, Yeah. And I just know from experience that's not the same thing. Like you are not conscious. You're way more conscious of the fact that you have an audience and that they're looking for a satisfying performance and story, especially Critical Role is so story driven.
Absolutely.
So yeah, like there's a lot of differances. Sometimes I
think that's a big reason as to why I don't jump into doing streamed games as often as I could, because I'm the laziest dungeon master in the world. Like I will prep 3 things in my head that I've thought about, in the shower, 4 days before the event, and then maybe mull on a little bit, and then be like, maybe that'll happen. I don't know. We'll see. I'll present it, and then during the session itself, I'll just be like, this happens. Maybe check it out, and I'll pull up some monsters, and that's about it. And that is, I think you're right, not a satisfying experience all the time for people who are expecting, the crest and fall of the falling action and everything each session. Which can be tough. And I end up stopping mid battle and mid things all the time just because, all right, we're at our time. We're all old people, so we have to go to bed at a certain time.
Sure.
And I'm like, I'm okay with picking that up again, but you can't do that on a stream game because it feels, again, like not a satisfying conclusion to an episode.
Exactly. Yeah. And ending early too is like, we're at a really good stopping place. And I kind of want to cliffhanger you here. Like you can't do that when you're on a time limit, when you're on a stream. And so there's a lot of like, if I want to go like an extra 3 hours because we're all having fun, or like we only did an hour and a half today, but it's because like we were all fucking around beforehand. And also this is a really good cliffhanger. All of those things, that's real D&D in my opinion. And so, there's a little artifice to it.
And this has got to be fun too because it's a one shot, right? Like you don't necessarily have to have that campaign in mind, right? You're just going to be like, I just got to have something that's fun for 2 hours, but something that's a short, bite size, but gives each of the players a thing to shine. And that can be a little bit freeing.
Which
as a
sounds
lazy
even
dungeon
harder,
master too, right?
actually.
Yeah, I mean that can be freeing. It is very, very tricky, and like that is to Shelley. Like that's it. I think it sounds harder. However, I've never DM'd a campaign. I said like I've put those feelers out there. I would love to DM a campaign someday.
I'll go. Can I be in it, or are we not cool enough now?
Yeah, and I also like I'm just gonna say it now. I think we should probably not stream it. And that's a mess up thing to say on a podcast. It's like, here's some content that we're making that's not for you. Get over it. But like I just want to know what it feels like to DM a game that's just for the people at the table. Because that's
playing.
The reason I like Dungeons and Dragons is like the people at the table and those are the ones that I'm stressed. Like I said earlier, this comedian game, the fact that there's an audience doesn't matter. The fact that they're famous doesn't matter. None of that matters to me. It's just like, I want those people at that table to have such a good time. And how do I ensure that? And that's like the perfect formula for an anxious brain to just perseverate and be like, how can I control something that is out of my control?
This improvisational game.
Right. Well, I think you bring up a really important point because a lot of folks that we talk to are content creators and they have to feel like everything they do needs to be content. And I think that can be very feeling like there's a weight on your shoulders, right? You're always making, always hustling, always doing stuff. And there's something really great about having just game night with friends that's not streamed and isn't content. The only content is the fun of, the individuals at the table hanging out with each other. And that's really important because you can burn out so quickly and not focus on what's, those connections that can be important for people.
I know. And I've also experienced like speaking about or taking pictures of posting games that were not streamed. And then the influx of like, where can I watch this? Where was this streamed? Is this going to be live? When are you guys posting the VOD? And that expectation, like that's on us as content consumers. It's like, we have to remember that the people who are making content for us are doing it because it's a thing that they genuinely love for the most part, especially when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons. So like, we all need to expect that those people want to do that for fun sometimes and not just for our entertainment and our yucks. We have to allow them to have fun. And I'm saying that for myself too, because like there are definitely content creators that like, if they mentioned that they played a D&D game and they didn't put it online, I would be like, what? What is wrong with you? I want to laugh.
Podcast of
I
it?
want to laugh at your jokes, but that's on me.
Look,
that's on me.
If you want to play in a game that's not streamed and you needed a person to be in it, I would be in it. And I would totally understand if I was invited and then Tiffany Haddish called and said she wanted to play and you bumped me.
That okay. Tell you what, I will just add Tiffany Haddish to the game. Tiffany
and then
Haddish can
die.
join.
And then me, the player and the character would die. Right.
That is so exciting.
So do you think, especially with the newer players, out of this group, and maybe you've saw some of this with the comedians table last year and the Game of Thrones table, but do you think the players fully understand that the role of Dungeon Master is not an adversarial role and that they shouldn't be coming for you or like trying to thwart your plans? Because my very first time playing Dungeons and Dragons, I did not know that the Dungeon Master was supposed to be on my side. And also, I don't think he did either, because he did seem like he was coming for us. But so it was like completely shocking the second time, my second Dungeon Master, that was like, why are you trying to mess everything up here? Like, I am on your side. Like, I want to give you magic items and help you succeed. But do you think that do you get a vibe ever from some of the newer players, like, especially ones that are trying to be like, extroverted and funny and like create really exciting content, that maybe they don't get that role, the role of player Dungeon Master?
I think that can be the case. And I haven't experienced it too much, I think, because of what I was saying earlier, which is that like I run my games like a goofball. And so I don't think anybody thinks that I'm taking it seriously. And so there's no victory to be gained in winning against me as a dungeon master. But I'm also slippery. Like I think that if somebody tried to start like messing with me in the game, I just mess with them back. I hope. Like we'll see. But I think that there is an old school. I was just reading this this webcomic where someone has taken like shots of Lord of the Rings but put speech bubbles over them to make it sound like they're playing a game of Dungeons and Dragons. And it's an older webcomic, but it definitely has
on
some
my previous job's website at one point.
Oh, nice. So yeah, it's funny. But it's also like it expresses this disdain for the Dungeon Master as like the chief nerd of the group, And so I think there might be some old school mentality around that, which is that like the Dungeon Master is a like blowhard, like long-winded bag of air that just wants to like exposit and go on and on about, whatever. So I think that can happen. I've definitely played with kids before who like decided that they were going to try to like make my life harder. And see like, I think it's just normal kid stuff, like trying to poke at the fences like a velociraptor. Where does this break? How can I break this? How can I become super powerful? How can I jump so hard that I go to the moon?
Right.
And I think that the secret to that is to be like, okay, yeah, you could try to jump in so hard that you go to the moon, roll a D20. And if you roll a 50 or higher, then you jump to the moon,
Okay, I can't get to 50. Oh.
I guess you can't get to the moon then. You better work on those jumping skills. But I do think that's like a mindset. I don't get that impression most of the time. Like 5th edition to me seems a lot more like based in the collaboration. And I think Critical Role has done a really good job of that. Like I think that Matt Mercer has kind of obviously set the platinum standard for so many dungeon masters out there. We'll get into that someday too. I think that's an impossible standard that no one should ever try to meet. But I think that he does a really wonderful job of showing you that it is a collaboration. Like you are, as a dungeon master, you are the facilitator of the fun. You are not trying to frustrate your players. You are not trying to defeat your players. You are trying to make your players feel really cool. That's how I approach it. And I do think that is kind of the attitude that I see the most in games these days.
You know what's funny too is I did some classes. I never actually pursued this, but I was doing some basketball officiating classes. And because in my mind I was like, oh, this is kind of like dungeon mastering. You're basically just facilitating, especially for kids. You just want them to have fun in the game and teaching them the rules, but you're not taking sides. You're not trying to get one team to win versus the other. Now, then as you get older, the ref for sports can be more of an adversary and you feel like they're against you, even if they're not. But I like that mindset. I do like the mindset of, especially for younger kids playing soccer or playing a organized sport together, that it really is just about the facilitator, as you said, like just making sure rules are mostly followed, teaching them if they don't know the rules, and then setting kids up for success or setting players up for success. And that, you're right, that mindset has kind of shifted over the course of the history of Dungeons and Dragons, as well as here with 5th edition. And I think just streaming in general has shown that there's different styles, right? There will be the person who and the group that likes that kind of adversarial relationship, and that's fine. If you're a tactical minded player, you might enjoy that. But then there's been so much more shown of the role playing and collaborative side of storytelling with streamed games that show. So that's what I love about the whole streaming phenomenon around Dungeons and Dragons. Is it shows that the gamut of you can play any different style of game. You want to try this, you want to try this, and you're not locked in to any specific style just because of who you're playing with at the time.
Right. Yeah. And I do think that there's a lot of fun to be had in the meat grinder format too, where the whole point is the dungeon master is trying to kill you over and over again. Honestly, as a dungeon master, that sounds kind of therapeutic. But it's also
right, where you don't have to worry about the story and the improv. You just be all right, let's just play it and kill each other.
Let's just play it. I'm going to try to kill you with as many monsters as I can. That sounds kind of fun. But to me, the point of the game is not to TPK. The idea of a TPK, except for my joke TPK at the Game of Thrones game, because it was Game of Thrones joke, because everybody dies in the end. But the idea of a real TPK to me is. To me, that would be a failure for me as a dungeon master, especially if it, if everybody talked about it ahead of time, they're we're all ready to end these characters, we want to go do something new, whatever, then that's fine. But if I just in the middle of a session TPK'd my entire party, I would view that as I were watching it happen, and it was clearly not something that everybody agreed on. I don't think that's the point of Dungeons and Dragons for sure. I don't think it's adversarial like that.
Although I would see that as a really fun storytelling challenge, right? What happens if, sometimes that happens, rolls occur and damage happens, and I'm eesh, I just rolled a crit and you only had 1 hit point left.
Right. Yeah, I tend to lie.
Let's see what happens.
Lie about that. That's the dungeon master screen's function for me. If things are too dire, and I roll really, really high on a monster, I will just lie about it, because I don't want that to happen. I want them to feel like they're in danger, but I don't want actually anything bad to happen. I'm just I'm too soft. I'm too sweet. I just want it to be a fun, light, happy time. Again, have never DM'd a campaign. Campaign might be a different story. I am the queen of one shots. So, trying to make sure everybody feels like they had a really good time. They came out feeling powerful. Maybe they even like that character so much that they want to play Dungeons and Dragons again. The last thing I want to do is kill their character.
Right.
As the first experience, that is super shitty.
Yeah, especially a kid.
Especially a kid.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. If it is a campaign that you've built up trust and it's a friend group, this is your 400th session, and the dice, for whatever reason, don't go their way.
That's a different story completely.
Yeah. Those characters might get real annoying after a while.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you again.
Or they make some really poor choice, and you're
yeah, exactly.
It's not even the dice. It was your choice.
It's your dumbass that did this to yourself. Yeah, exactly. I like that.
Oh, you want to fight Tiamat? Sure. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll send a Tarask your way.
For her.
Oh, man. Well, I hope you get a Tarask and/or Tiamat into this comedian's game.
Thank you. I'll do my best just for you.
Somebody might get a cool familiar. It sounds like you're open.
Yeah, I got a couple of cool familiars in this game. We'll see how it goes.
I think I feel worse when damage befalls a familiar than the actual player character. It was just a little
lover.
bat. Oh.
My pseudo dragon is burned.
It's burned.
Well, I'm excited. July 16th and 17th is when you'll be able to watch D&D Live 2021. And look out for the comedian's game. 2 hours of nonstop fun.
Oh my gosh.
Dungeon mastered by Kate Welch throughout. It's gonna be great. I can't wait to see all of those cast members yuck it up with each other.
Me too. It's gonna be a blast. Definitely tune in. And there's a bunch of great games going this weekend, right? I don't know what's been announced, but that weekend of the 16th and 17th. Have we announced anything else?
We will have by the time this is out there. So there's
Hey!
a AP Bio game. There's the WWE Superstars playing together. Dungeon Mastered by Abria Iyengar, which is going to be fantastic.
Abria's amazing.
Yeah, there's some really fun stuff from Matthew Lillard's Beetle and Grimm's group that is actually kind of similar to what we've been talking about. It's basically a TPK show in which they create characters, improv, the bravado of going on an adventure, and then they fight a foe they cannot defeat. And
that does sound fun.
Get some glorious deaths in there, hopefully making it funny for all.
Love that. Cool. Yeah. I can't wait. It's going to be a really fun weekend.
I'm nervous for you. Oh.
Thanks.
You're going to rock it. I know.
Thank you. Thank you. No, I know. Your vote of confidence means the world to me. Thank you.
All right. And then I think Shelly and I are waiting for our invite to your offline game with Tiffany Haddish. So as soon as we get that going,
you got it. We'll do.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Kate, for being on here. Thanks for Dungeon Mastering for these amazing folks. And gosh, well, we got to have you on again soon. We need to roll some random characters.
We need to have you on when this is over so we can hear what you thought.
Oh my God, I know the recap,
the debrief.
After, yeah. I'll probably need both of you to be there for me, and also alcohol.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I will raise a glass.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Commiserate and or congratulate all of the goings on. But that's one more wrinkle that I just one last thing. Well, actually, no, two more things. Does Bronwyn, Reggie Watts' character, still have his outrageous British accent?
I hope so.
I hope so. That's what we want to. That's what I want to hope so, because it made me laugh so much last year, and I'm glad he's returning. But the second thing is for that improv game that you were talking about. If you just wanted to do like, hey, we made it all up. What if all the characters were just random generated?
The random character generator? Yeah.
Right before the session.
For sure. I like that a lot. I like that so much, because I think it would be such a good exercise to build confidence as a dungeon master. Is like, I know that I can do this because I do whole games like this. So if there's ever a moment where in a game I'm like, crap, I don't know what comes next, I've got that muscle built up. That would be such a good skill.
I want all of this, please.
You got it. Just for you, babe.
All right. Well, we'll do it. We'll make it happen.
Thank you guys. So good to see your faces.
Love
Thank you so
Kate.
much for having me.
You're
Love
the
you
best.
guys so much.
Bye. Give our love to Tyler and congratulations.